Welcome back to Joey Movie Clips. Today I will show you an action, drama, mystery film from 1998 titled Good Will Hunting. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Will is a janitor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology with a high level of mathematical talent and an exceptional memory. However, due to a rebellious personality, he dropped out at a young age. Once, Will discovered a math problem on the school hallway blackboard, which instantly piqued his interest. He went home, worked it out simply on his mirror, and solved it. Will casually wrote the answer on the blackboard, unaware that the problem was set by the university professor, Lumbo, a Fields Medal recipient. The professor had invited students to try to solve it, but no one could, despite their high academic status at MIT. This problem had only ever been solved by a very small number of people, including Nobel Prize winners, up to that point. After the problem was solved, it caused a sensation across the whole mathematics department. The professors wanted to find the genius student, but no student admitted to it. Therefore, the professor posted a harder math problem on the hallway blackboard. The math department at MIT had spent a full 2 years solving this problem. However, for a genius, this was merely a mathematical game. In less than a minute, he wrote down the answer in the process of solving this problem. The professor saw Will scribbling on the blackboard and thought he was causing trouble on purpose. Scared, Will hasted away, but when the professor saw what Will had written, he was shocked. The tough problem, which took him 2 years to solve, was effortlessly solved by a janitor. Will usually spend his free time with his friends, fighting injustices and often getting into trouble. During one brawl, he was caught by the police. In court, Will defended himself using American constitutional law, having read it from cover to cover in a library. Every time, his lawyer was speechless against his retorts, but the judge didn't care how articulate Will was. He insisted on imprisoning him because Will's record was filled with misdemeanors, brawls, thefts, and arrests. These incidents happened regularly. Furthermore, Will had always defended himself and avoided conviction, so this time, the judge insisted, "I won't listen. I will find you guilty." Meanwhile, the professor found Will's contact details through the school's management office and visited the court. He watched Will defending himself and developed a strong interest in this rebellious young genius. The professor approached the judge to bail Will out, but the judge set 2 conditions. First, Will had to meet with Professor Lumbo once a week for advanced mathematics training. Second, the professor had to take Will to see a psychologist. Will's astonishing mathematical talent brought great joy to the professor, who was keen to nurture such talent. The professor did his utmost to tutor Will but fretted about Will's psychological counseling. Will briefly flipped through some psychology books and completely fooled the visiting renowned psychologist. He even managed to discern that the psychologist was gay based on his body language, causing great distress to the psychologist. The hypnotist who was invited was made fun of by Will as if he was a simpleton. With no other options, Lumbo had to invite his old classmate, Professor Sean. Lumbo told his old classmate that Will was an unparalleled genius he had ever seen, and he wanted Professor Sean to break down Will's defensive wall against people. In their first casual conversation, it seemed like they were getting along well. However, Will discerned something from a painting of Professor Sean's and uncovered Sean's past psychological trauma, which infuriated Sean. At the same time, Sean also developed a great interest in Will. Will met a girl named Skylar in a bar. While undergoing psychological treatment, he also started dating her frequently. Professor Sean scheduled a second meeting with Will. They came to a riverside, where Sean confessed he had insomnia one night as he thought about what Will had said. But once he thought of one thing, he stopped worrying and went to sleep. Sean said, "You were just a kid. You have no idea what you were talking about. You can get all kinds of superficial arguments from art books and express various views on arts, but you never left here. You do not know the smell of the Sistine Chapel, and you haven't stood there admiring its beautiful ceiling, but I know. If I asked you about women, you could also deliver distinctive arguments. You might have a few experiences, but you can't describe the blissful taste of waking up next to the woman you love. You are just a very stubborn kid. If I ask you about war, you might quote Shakespeare. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. But you've never had a best friend's head in your lap. Watch him gasp his last breath looking to you for help. If I ask you about love, you'd probably recite a sonnet, but you've never looked at a woman and been completely vulnerable, seen the woman who can level you with her eyes, feeling like God put an angel on earth just for you to save you from the depths of hell. You don't know what it's like to be her angel, to have that love for her, be there forever, through cancer, to hold her while she's sick, clutch her hand so tight you can see your knuckles white. You don't know about real loss, because it only occurs when you've loved something more than you love yourself. I doubt you dare to love a person that way. Looking at you, I don't see an intelligent, confident man. I see a cocky, scared young kid who's pretending to be a genius. Nobody can understand you, and you think you understand me by looking at a painting? No books or knowledge can comprehend you unless you are willing to share who you are. Then I might be fascinated by you. Will kept silent during this conversation. Will and his friends worked on a construction site during the day to earn a living. At night, he braved the rain to call Skylar, but he didn't know what to say when the call was answered. In the next psychotherapy session, both Dr. Sean and Will started with silence, each waiting for the other to break the ice. Finally, unable to keep quiet anymore, Will spoke first. He began with a joke, then he said he met a girl but hasn't called her back because he thought she was perfect now. He didn't want to get in touch and find out she was not as smart, which would ruin this perfection. Sean said, "Maybe you're the one who doesn't want to ruin your own perfection." It's an interesting philosophy. In this way, you will never get to know anyone in your life. Sean continued, "My wife used to fart when she was nervous." And other little peculiarities like that. She also farted in her sleep. One night it was so loud it woke the dog, and she woke up asking me, "Was that you?" Then we both laughed. Will also laughed like a child, saying simultaneously, "She woke herself up, didn't she?" Sean said she had been gone for 2 years, but what he remembered were these little things that made her his wife. She knew all of my imperfections, and people called that perfection. In reality, it's the best thing. It can choose who to let into our world. You're not perfect. The girl you met is not perfect. The question is, are you perfect for each other? That is what intimacy is all about. You can know about the whole world, but the method of exploration is to try. Will wanted to continue, but Sean said, "Time's up for today." Will found Skylar and plucked up the courage to ask her out again. Their relationship progressed rapidly. In Sean's subsequent treatments, Will spoke freely with him. They both loved baseball, so they talked a lot about it. Gradually, Will opened up his heart to Sean. One day, Limbo sought out Sean. He wanted him to step up the pace and break down Will's defenses. Limbo said, compared to Will, he was nothing. In 1905, there were many professors who were famous for studying the universe, but it was a 26-year-old clerk who studied physics in his spare time who ended up changing the world. What would have happened had Einstein been a down-and-out drunk? Lumbo questioned. We would have all lost something. Lumbo said Will has a remarkable gift. He just lacked direction. We should be the ones to provide that. Unquestionably, Limbo wanted to cultivate Will into a great mathematician who could change the world. But Sean pointed out there was once a student with an amazing talent in mathematics who ended up assisting a very famous professor. Guess what happened to him? He became the Unabomber. That's why we need to guide him, replied Limbo. To which Sean countered, guidance is one thing, control is another. You have to let him find his own way. Limbo conceded, I'm not trying to meticulously plan how to ruin his life. I didn't win the Fields Medal until 20 years after I learned advanced mathematics at 18. Sean remarked, maybe he doesn't want to do what you want him to do. Life is nothing but shitty badges. Why not give him time to figure out what he really wants? Their meeting ended with both holding on to their own opinions. Limbo arranged job offers from large companies for Will, but will let his friends replace him at the interviews, intentionally causing trouble. Skylar asked Will to go to California with her, but he hesitated. What if you suddenly realize you don't like me in California and feel apologetic for what you have said now? And I am trapped in California with someone who doesn't love me, yet is regretting it every day. Skylar was perplexed by Will's obstinacy and his refusal to go to California. Will was scared because he didn't trust others. He feared that Skylar's love wouldn't last. Skylar said, you're scared that I might not love you. But do you know? I'm equally scared. But I want to try at least. I'm honest. I'm willing to try. Skylar asked what Will was hiding. Do you want to know? He replied, I am an orphan, and my childhood was marked by getting burned with cigarettes and being stabbed by a jerk. You won't want to hear more. Crying, Skylar said, I just want to help you. I love you. I want to be with you. But Will, like a wounded animal, began screaming hysterically. If you say you don't love me, I will never bother you again, Skylar declared. Will hesitated, then said, I don't love you, before leaving. Heartbroken, Skylar slumped on the bed. Limbo asked Will to join his mathematics project. With Will's help, all the projects were advancing at a stunning pace. As the project progressed, Limbo started to lag behind Will's pace. What seemed simple to Will took Limbo quite a while to understand. Will felt this wasn't what he wanted. He grew tired of explaining his answers to Limbo. This was a huge blow to Limbo, who admitted, "It's true, I can't crack it, but you can." There are very few in this world who can grasp the difference between you and me. I often wish that I had never met you. Then I could sleep at night wondering if there's someone in the world like you, not in the torment of watching you squander your talent. Limbo introduced Will to a job at the NSA, cracking codes. Will explained, using a series of chain reactions as examples, why he didn't want to work for the NSA. Sean asked Will if he had a soulmate, someone who you could bare your soul to and who could touch your heart. Will hesitated and said that he did, but he couldn't mention anyone in particular. Sean told Will, "It's not about whether you should work for the government. It's about whether you could do what you want, unrestrained. What do you love? What do you want?" Some people toil for a lifetime, just to give their children a chance like you already have by birth. But you're running from it. Will retorted, "What's wrong with being a bricklayer? Being a janitor?" Sean posed a little question. Why, out of all the janitor jobs everywhere, did you choose one in a world-class educational institution where in the dead of night you covertly solve problems that only 2 people in the world can solve? What do you actually want to do? Will said he wanted to be a shepherd and buy some land for sheep. Sean could tell that Will was evasive, so he tried to push him away. Will shot a question back to Sean about where his life partner was, to which Sean replied, "She has passed away." Will countered, "So she's dead, and you're afraid to gamble on life again?" Sean responded, "At least, I've gambled before." Will retorted, "But you lost. Some people keep betting, even when they lose badly." Sean prompted, "Look at me. What do you want?" Will was stumped. Though he always has smooth responses to other people's queries, he couldn't answer this simple question. "Because you don't know," concluded Sean. Will called Skylar. He started speaking about trifling things, only to be cut off by Skylar. He then uttered, "I love you." She was waiting for him to say, "I love you too," but all Will said was, "Take care," before he hung up the phone. Skylar eventually left for California, waiting until the last moment, but Will never showed up. For some time, Will even stopped seeing Limbo and Sean. Will went back to the construction site to work with his friends. After Limbo found out, he was so angry that he looked for Professor Sean. Will's friend, knowing the whole situation, said to him, "Leave this place. Don't take it the wrong way, man. You're my best friend. But if 20 years from now you're still coming over to my house to watch games, still working construction, I'll fucking kill you. No kidding. I'll end you, because you've got something that we don't." "Why does everyone keep saying that?" Will questioned. "Am I letting myself down?" "You're not letting yourself down, you're letting me down," his friend said. "Because if I wake up tomorrow and I'm 50 years old and still doing this, then it doesn't matter. But seeing you not cashing in your winning lottery ticket kills me, because I would give anything to have what you have." The others added, "If you hang around for another 20 years, it's an insult to us and a waste of time. So, you wouldn't understand." But his friend retorted, "I show up to your house every day, we hang out and have a great time. But you know what's the best part? Those 10 seconds walking from the parking lot to your front door. Because every time I knock, I hope to God you're not there. No goodbye. No see you later. No nothing. You just left. I don't know much, but I know that." When Limbo found Sean, he blamed him for losing Will. But Sean countered, "You know why he acts this way? Why he's hiding and distrusting of others? It's because the people who were supposed to love him left him at birth. Why do you think he hangs around with the so-called riffraff, in your words?" Sean continued, "That's because if he asked his friends to beat someone up, they would. That's loyalty. He pushes people away before they can abandon him. That's defense. He's been lonely for 20 years because of this. Now you're forcing him to revisit that tragedy." Limbo interjected, "Don't let him think it's okay to give up, or that failure is okay. You hate me because I've been successful in your place, but I won't apologize for being more successful than you. You achieved for me what you could have done for yourself, but ask yourself, do you want Will to feel that way? Do you want him to feel like a loser?" Sean disagreed. "You see me as a failure, but I'm proud of myself. I made my choices, and I have no regrets. You and I perceive my life differently. You keep bringing up your field's medal. Why are you still so afraid of failure?" Limbo retorted, "You are smarter than me, but the state of your life now is not my fault." Sean said, "I'm not blaming you. This has nothing to do with you. This is about the boy. He's a good kid, and I won't let you ruin him the way you've ruined your own life. I can't stand by and watch him feel like a failure." Limbo added, "And if you pressure him, want to control him, the chances of success I have today were forced out of me. He's not you." By this time, Will couldn't stand to hear any more. He pushed open the door and interrupted their argument, then, upset, left the room. Sean admitted, "This is about my past with him. Sean then shared his most private childhood memories with Will, revealing that he too had been a victim of domestic abuse by his father. Their shared experiences led to Will's fear of abandonment and his attachment issues. Sean reassured Will, "Even though I don't know much, I do know this. It's not your fault." He repeated it over and over to Will. "It's not your fault."
It's not your fault. All right? It's not your fault.
Oh my God.
After an interview at a company, Sean asked Will, "Is this the job you really want?" Will replied, "I guess so." Sean told him that he planned to travel and see what life had in store for him this time. Touching Will's collar, he encouraged, "Do what you really want to do." They shared a hug. "Thank you," Sean said, "and thank you, Will." For Will's 21st birthday, his friends gave him a makeshift car as a gift. Will joked that it was the ugliest car he had ever seen. Meanwhile, Sean packed his things for his trip. Will left a note in his mailbox. When Will's friend knocked on his door and confirmed that he had left, he showed a knowing smile and then walked away. As Sean was going downstairs, he noticed the note. It read, "If the professor asks about the job, tell him I had to go see about a girl." Will was on the road to California in his birthday gift car. Perhaps now he could finally answer the simple question Sean had asked him. What do you really want? Good Will Hunting, to me, is a film that has had a real impact on me and makes me cry every time I watch it. I don't intend to write much of a review for it. I just wholeheartedly and selflessly recommend it to you. Perhaps the only way to truly understand what this film is trying to say is by watching it intently. We've all laughed at the wealthy woman who wears all her jewelry at once, but now I find myself like a child holding all their toys. I'm obsessed with information, yet I've lost myself. We think we know a lot, not realizing that we are living on the surface. What we chase isn't always what we really need, and we devote far too much energy to these pursuits. Yet the more we have, the more lost we seem to get. In the process of reaching Will, Professor Sean is also affected by him. Perhaps in the end, he understands that in life, there is no absolute right or wrong. After all, we only live once. Who's to say my life is wrong? Don't let anyone tell you that you are a loser. What's important is that you spend your life pursuing what your heart truly seeks. Perhaps after you've finished watching this film, all you need to do is to sincerely ask one question: what do I really want? That's all for today's commentary. Don't forget to follow me if you're interested.